The life of nations, no less than that of men, is lived largely in the imagination. Enoch Powell. Good day, everyone. Finally, on this lovely Wednesday night of recording, I'm back in the saddle once again, and in a new location. I'm finally settling completely into the new apartment in a nice little separate office. So, those out there picking up those subtle differences, please do let me know what you guys think about the audio quality and all. But, the little over a month of waiting for the opportunity to actually get to record something has been a long one, and I must say I feel a touch, rusty. And with that today, thanks to my patrons and supporters alike, I thought I'd bring you a little something to make up for it. The very first entry to the series of RESPONSUM. And that subject will be the video I have uploaded previously to this one at the old and featured friend Obail's request. 1. The people make the nation, not the other way around. And I'll be offering my answers to the questions posed therein. So, if you would, Obail.
Perhaps aside from all the cultures or ego nonsense you'll hear from what can be considered egalitarian extremists, and they'll probably happily admit to that themselves, there is a clear decline in quality amongst certain Western and European countries, while there is an increase of quality amongst, well, many Arabian, Peninsular, and African countries. But this might have to do with fertility rates and birth rates and various other contributing factors, genetics, eugenics, and so forth. But onto the topic of culture, civilization, and simple environmental factors having a play and altering the way life is within their everyday lives, the inhabitants of these countries, we ask ourselves why people evolve differently, and why different societies have been formed by different demographics of people. Is it a religious thing? An ethnic thing? An economic thing? Well, it depends on who you ask, because you're going to get different results based upon the ideology of the individual you are asking.
Indeed you will. And in my theory, as seems evident by the apparent course of a great deal of nature's methods of evolution in all that may evolve, much like the other creatures of Terra, it's the aggregate pressures that any given society faces. The geology, the genetic compositions, the diets, the conflicts, the ecology, the climate, the prevailing ideological factions, the scholastics and academics, the technologies, the past and current professions, and every finite influence upon a given people produces their state of being at a given moment. Natural or artificial, each and every collective factor that constitutes a people's environment determines their circumstances on the whole, be it mental, physical, or in terms of their civilization, or lack thereof. In fact, it would appear most probable that any race or nation or group is born mostly in reaction to what circumstances are at hand, in the objective sense, and is hardly limited to only a handful, or even a list-length set of factors.
But to give an idea, let's say for instance you have 10,000 people. You take them to what is equivalent to, say, the landmass of Singapore or Iceland, or Greenland maybe. But Greenland is quite the opposite of a densely packed country. It's quite big and has very few inhabitants, like Mongolia. But let's just say Singapore for the sake of it. That's the landmass. 10,000 people, half female, half male, and let's say, they're a melting pot. All different ethnic groups and races lumped together. Now, let's say we give them a religion. Let's say we give them Christianity, Islam, Judaism, Hinduism, Freemasonry, Buddhism. We give them Jainism, and, well, we give them pretty much the major religions. And we just let them, sit there. We let them sit there in all their diversity, in all their multiculturalism, in all their supposed apparent egalitarianism, and we wait to see if it actually works, or if it fails, as opposed to working, because we don't know. Has this succeeded in the past, and do we even need it to succeed now, is the serious question at hand here, that I'm giving you an idea to kind of plan on your own.
Has the described situation worked in the past? I would say yes. And a prime example of this would be the United States of America. And now, the crux of this lies within 2 words. Melting pot. For all of these major broad groups to come together and form a successful union, some of them completely at odds with each other, they must have a stalwart, overarching, and common set of beliefs and values. The differences amongst each of these groups must be lessened and put aside for these keystones of the culture to reign supreme above all others. And we do know, as from the existence of the United States at least, and it is quite important to know that this system does work, and I would argue is the very best approach.
I mean, if you're starting a new country, you want to have the basics down. Who are the people of that country going to be? It's not, what laws will this country have? It's not, will the economy succeed or not? Do the people work? No, the simple question is, who are the people? Because a country is nothing without its inhabitants.
Aye, the people are a crucial part of a nation. But, in the same towering skyscraper alongside the furniture and the windows and the people crisscrossing about, there is vital to the thing the foundation and the beams and the floorboards. There cannot be for very long a glaring incongruence between the most fevered passions, ethics, beliefs, and overarching culture and way of conduct of a nation's inhabitants. One is directly dependent upon the other, and if there is significant enough clout in the hands of either, one will have a good deal of choice in the structure of a sovereignty's paradigm. And therefore, it is not solely the simple question of who the people are. It ought to be of high consideration what the baked-in institutions of a society that have taken on a life of their own are interested in.
You can control the businesses, the banks, you can control the government, the Senate, the council, but what you cannot control, but you should be able to control, is the minds of the people, the behavior of the people, and the way they ideologically think and interact with one another on a day-to-day basis.
I would staunchly disagree with any substantial attempt to mandate the ethics and modus operandi of a free citizen of a state beyond what is necessary to guarantee all reasonable liberties of those around them. The state should only guide these things, unless under special circumstances, not enforce them.
And I mean this as a normal thing, not with pressure or anything. These people who want to come to your country feel as though their ideology matches the policies present within that nation.
And neither would I enforce any ideological barrier beyond the filter just mentioned. Were I the guiding hand of a nation, so long as the will of the people was appropriately being represented, I would have no qualms permitting immigrants that are well equipped to contribute positively to the environment of my nation. Their personal ideologies that would survive the aforementioned filter, even if they were to not align with the country's overall, are largely irrelevant in my eyes.
So let's say I want to start a far-right nation. Think of it as the Fourth Reich. Clearly, I'd get a lot of people who already have that far-right fascist ideology, whether it be nativist or it be, let's just say, extremely authoritarian. And let's say I want to start a far-left society, anarcho-communist society, with Stalinism and Maoism and all the inspiration of, philosophy based around Marxist thought. I'd obviously attract far-left people, but of course I'd get certain demographics in the far-left that would be more inclined to come to that country as opposed to others. People who are dedicated, people who don't work, or those who do work. But it all depends upon your policies. You can have the best policies in the world, but if the individuals in your country, the people, aren't decent human beings according to your own moral, subjective standards, then what's the point of a country? If I have everything in front of me, but I got nothing to, no body, not nothing, I'm talking human beings here to share it with, then everything I've got in front of me is pointless. I mean, it's just me. It's just my selfish little chamber that I've locked myself in and have created no relationships with. I've got no relationships, essentially.
But the nation isn't for any one person, you see. Your moral subjective standards matter as much as a single droplet of water matters to a lake. The objective of a nation is not to bring fulfillment to its founder's vision. It is, rather, to bring forth the will of the strongest powers within it. Now, that may well mesh with the founder's visions, but that is hardly the only option. whether that fills you with a great sense of solidarity with the thing or not, permits you to make relations or otherwise, or brings you satisfaction or dissatisfaction, the point of a state is well beyond just the concerns of any individual.
But that's the thing. Just give it a little bit of work. Do you think that a society, at its bare bones, should focus on the people or the government's policies?
The most pragmatic answer is, I would offer, both. They are both integral to each other. A proper society is governed by and functions under at least a rudimentary set of policies on a wide range of subjects, and a proper set of policies represents the interest of the people. The true nation cannot exist when too great an imbalance of either exists.
Because in America, and in Canada, and in, well, all of North America really, you have a good economy, generally speaking. But the people, though, are they really worth it? Are they really worth giving the good economy to? What do you think?
And to answer the final query presented in this video, absolutely. A society in which produces such a prosperous economy ought to have its citizenry see the benefits of it. Save for those that would usher in a government of totality, of nigh-on slavery, of utter vacancy of meritocratic reward, there ought to be no one that would support a thorough stripping of the just deserts of the public. Thank you all for listening. You all know right where the subscribe and notification bell and thumbs up and down is, if you're inclined towards any of these. In the links of the description, you can also find my Minds.com, Facebook, Twitter, and an invite to my Discord server if you want to see what kind of shit I'm up to. If you're a big enough fan of my content that you'd like to help me make producing it my job, I've got my Patreon linked in the description along with the PayPal link if you just want to drop a one-time donation. Godspeed and farewell, everyone. Till then, this has been Xilver with a Z.